Hello, hello, hello. It is now July 15th. It is Thursday morning in hot Buckeye, Arizona. I wanted to get with you guys and talk to you a little bit about what's going on, what's happening in Arizona. Now, many of you know that today at 10 a.m., there will be a preliminary hearing with the AZ legislature. And that is awesome, and that is perfect, and that is great. Hopefully, some good information is given to the people to help the people understand what we must do in the future. But for this video, I want to do something special. Now, since day one, Josh Barnett and I have approached things in a totally different way. Josh Barnett and I did not try to prove fraud. We did not try to prove that things were wrong. What we did do is stand in our authority as the people, and we ordered the legislature and the Board of Supervisors to do those things which were right. Now, in the midst of all these things, we can see where some things were done that were not correct. Now, a lot of people are worried about what happened on the 3rd. They are worried about proving that things were wrong. Now, the funny thing is, as we can clearly see today in America, we have a constitutional problem where there is a group of private workers called the bar and the various bar associations that seem to have a problem when the people require of their government officials certain things. So, for instance, the people demanded that Donald Trump do a audit of the election. They demanded that others do the same, and there were certain attorneys who believed that they wanted to stand up for the rights of the people and get involved with getting an audit of what was happening. Now, the attorneys did approach it in a different way than I ever would have. The attorneys approached it saying that they could prove that there was fraud in many cases, when they really didn't have to do that. For example, Josh Barnett and I showed in Michigan, I think is their Article 2, I believe it is, Section 4H. Josh always nails that one perfectly. But what ended up happening is that in that state constitution, it tells clearly that one man or woman in the state can do a statewide audit, just that one person, to make sure that election integrity is there, that there is accuracy and people did things correctly. That said nothing about having to prove that things were done wrong. And I believe that as the people, the nation belongs to us, the states belong to us, we are the beneficiaries as well as the trust protectors. Every state has a trust indenture called the Constitution. In that trust indenture, there are certain terms and certain rights that are declared that shows that the people have the right to correct things, to change their constitution at will by express words or by literally changing the constitution whenever their good shall require it, right? In however way they see fit. See, our forefathers trusted us enough to realize that the people are the ones who work on grand juries and tell if somebody's going to get indicted. The people are also the ones who work on juries and tell if somebody's going to be punished or penalized in prison. So if that is the case, why is it that the attorneys and judges and many government officials try to act like we don't have the power to make decisions when it comes to the business of the people? And that's where, like I said, many attorneys have made great errors in trying to say that they're going to prove fraud. And when they make that claim, the judges, being that they are trained in a way that to give the judges discretion on what they're going to do, they end up in a situation where they have to prove fraud to a judge first without any actual day of a hearing or anything like that. So the judges just ignore their evidence, ignore their information, and try to keep the cases out of court. So one thing that I've always told people, you guys have heard me say it a million times, me and Josh have told the government officials, is stop trying to prove fraud, stand on your power. So we have the power to have um, a inventory done and to see how things are being ran in our business. Now, let's take it a step further. So people are wondering what happens if we find something wrong inside of whatever is told to us today. Now, I want you guys to understand once again that our Constitution, our forefathers did not look at it as a necessary thing for judges to be able to make a decision for us if something is wrong or right, or if we like it, or if we want to deal with it anymore. What we must realize is that judges and attorneys came together to block people from even knowing what's happening or what happened on November 3rd. Biden has found himself traveling to Michigan and I believe Pennsylvania to try to interfere with people who are trying to find out what happened. So as a people, if you own a business and you are trying to make sure the business flourishes and everything is good, one thing that you don't want to do is allow for someone in the business to block people from doing inventory. That's not what you call good administration of the people's business. It is actually what's called maladministration. So what we're going to do today is discuss this a little bit, and I'm going to show you guys in Arizona and across the nation, straight from Arizona Constitution and maybe Virginia's, how the people can step in, correct all errors, do the things that we need to have done, and stop these people from doing things that are not good when it comes to how they administer the business that we gave them to do. Also, I want you guys to realize that the people have all political power. We can change our constitution and government and form of government at will, as long as we don't take it away from being a republic. So we have to have a Republican form of government. That's one of the agreements that we made. We stand on our agreements. And our government servants have to understand that they also have certain requirements that they cannot walk away from. Example, when you look at the Board of Supervisors in Arizona, in Maricopa, right? When you look at the Board of Supervisors, what you'll find is that they have in their charter and in the statutes, we see where they have certain instruction, like for instance, turn the ballots over to the treasury, right? The treasurer, sorry, and they failed to do it. So guys, I don't care about what comes out today. I don't care if they show fraud or not. We know that the treasurer never got those ballots as they were supposed to, which means that the Board of Supervisors are acting in maladministration. We don't need a judge to tell us that the Board of Supervisors didn't do what we clearly saw they did, right? So we're not foolish, we're not stupid. So that's one thing that can cause for the Board of Supervisors to have their powers suspended. Now, people would say, well, David, what's the process by which we would have their powers suspended? First of all, we have a legislature that we can order to remove their powers. Because we do a lot of business through the legislature, but the legislature is not the only ones who can do the business. Actually, the people can step in and take action too and change the Constitution or order the legislature to do it. Now, some people will say, well, David, that's not the case. Where do we have a power like in other states to change our government at will or change our Constitution if there is a problem? Well, first of all, we see that our legislature has the ability to bring forth a state of emergency, or the governor. The legislature can tell that there is something wrong and come together and deal with certain issues in an emergency. The governor can declare a state of emergency and deal with certain issues. And if the legislature can grant authority to the governor in order to say that something is an emergency and do different things to lock down personnel of government, then the people who granted the authority to the legislature and the governor, both, the people have that power to declare an emergency. The people have that power to declare independence. The people have that power to instruct the legislature to change things and nullify laws in order, or statute, in order to be able to deal with the issue in the case of an emergency where the state is in trouble. Now, if we find that there are things that were done wrong, that is definitely the state being in trouble. But what we're going to do is we're going to go to Arizona Constitution and look up some of these things so we can see if what I'm saying is true. We don't have to just hear me, we can see what is written. So let's check and see. Okay, so let's check here. We're looking at Article 12 of Arizona Constitution. Now, what we have to do is understand how things were created in the Arizona Constitution in order to be able to understand what powers people have. Now, remember, the people of Arizona are the ones who created this Constitution. This was before the legislature even existed. So let's look at the text of Section 1. Each county of the state, now or hereafter organized, shall be a body politic and corporate, right? Now, counties and territories as counties of the state. The several counties of the territory of Arizona as fixed by statute at the time of the adoption of this Constitution are hereby declared to be counties of the state until changed by law. Now, watch this. In Section 3, look what we create. There are hereby created. Now, how in the world did this get created? The people literally wrote it and spoke it out of their mouth, right? So the power in the mouth and the pen of the people is what created these county officers. Watch this. There are hereby created in and for each organized county of the state the following officers, who shall be elected by qualified electors thereof: a sheriff, a county attorney, a recorder, a treasurer, an assessor, a superintendent of schools, and at least 3 supervisors, each of whom shall be elected to hold this office for a term of 4 years, beginning on the 1st January next after his election, which number of supervisors is subject to increase by law. The supervisors shall be nominated and elected from districts as provided by law. The candidates of these offices elected in the general election of November 3rd, 1964 shall take office on the first day of January 1965 and shall serve until the first day of January 1969. Right? Now, watch this. County officers' duties, powers, and qualifications. Salaries. The duties, powers, and qualifications of such officers shall be as prescribed by law. The Board of Supervisors of each county is hereby empowered. Now, how did they get empowered? They're empowered because the people just empowered them by the word of mouth, out of thin air, out of nowhere. Just like God said, let there be light, the people said, let there be a Board of Supervisors. Let there be supervisors, right? The Board of Supervisors of each county is hereby empowered to fix salaries for all county and precinct officers within such county for whom no compensation is provided by law, and the salary so fixed shall remain in full force and effect until changed by general law. Now, so the thing is the legislature can create general law, but the people created the common law and the frame of this Constitution. So the people put this Constitution together. People will say, where do the people get the right to change the Constitution? Where did the people get the right to create the Constitution? The voice of the people is the voice of God. We are creators. We are ones who put this corporate entity in place, as well as our legislature, in this same document. We have all political power. Remember, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Those who created and delegated these powers and empowered the Board of Supervisors and the legislature are the same people who at will can remove that power. The same power that we had that allowed us to create them in the first place. The maxims of law say you control what you create. Now, guys, what we are going to do is we are going to go to the Virginia Constitution because these are our forefathers who just got done dealing with tyrants. Now, remember, guys, we have what's called the Declaration of Independence. That means we can declare our independence from any government, anybody. Remember, guys, the government is here to serve the people, not the other way around. So if we no longer want their services, we can clearly remove them because the people are free and independent. Now, your bills and declarations of rights, as I showed you the other day, it comes from the people telling the common law, the laws common to all men, what rights pertain to us. Let's look and see their preamble, for instance. A declaration of rights made by who? The government? No. The good people of Virginia in the exercise of their sovereign powers. The people have the sovereign power, as I showed you on Chisholm versus Georgia case that attorneys like to hide. Watch this. Which rights do pertain to them and their posterity as the basis and foundation of government. Guys, remember I told you guys that we create the foundation, the framework of the government? So guys, we tell what laws pertain to us. We tell the basis and foundation of government as well. So let's look at what it says in the beginning of text in section 1, that all men are by nature equally free and independent. We are independent. We create states, but we are independent. The states don't rule over us. We dictate to the government what we will allow them to do. And if they want to agree with us, they can come and work for us and sit in those seats that we create. But they are not allowed to create their own way. Now, section 2, let's look at this. That all power is vested in and consequently derived from the people. That magistrates, the government workers, are their trustees and servants. They work for us. They serve us. They are running our business for us. And at all times amenable or accountable to them, to us. Now, because of that, we are able to do certain things. And in Arizona, we don't care if we find fraud or not. What we care about is the fact that people have done things that have went against what it is that we have dictated to them based on the law, and the government is not allowed to break the law. The government is not with excuse to do whatever they just want to do. And so let's look at text of section 3 so we could get an understanding from people who just got done dealing with a tyrannical government. And then we're going to go back to Arizona to understand how we have the same powers. Watch this. That government is or ought to be instituted for the common benefit, protection, and security of the people, nation, or community. See, this is talking about just more than Virginia. Of all the various modes and forms of government, that is best which is capable of producing what? The greatest degree of happiness and safety. So we're not happy, guys, if people are running our business in a way that they shouldn't. We're not happy if they cheat to get themselves into places that they shouldn't. Now, we're not claiming that they did that, but we are claiming that we know the Board of Supervisors didn't turn over the ballots to the treasurer. We also know that there were things that were ordered in the subpoena to be given over to the legislature, and the judges agreed that this was the case, that it needed to be done, and that the subpoenas were valid. But at the same time, the Board of Supervisors decided, screw you, we're not doing it. So they didn't turn over routers and they didn't turn over other things. Now, the people demanded that these people turn over everything for a full forensic audit. We even told who we wanted to do the audit. And the legislature listened. The problem is that the Board of Supervisors feel that they can do whatever they want to do, but that's not in their trust indenture. So how do we deal with them? Watch this. And is most effectually secured against the danger of maladministration. It's not even the big deal if they did commit maladministration. Just the danger of maladministration. If you're doing things that could get us in a situation where you harm the people or don't handle their business correctly, there's recourse. What's that recourse? And, watch this, whenever any, did it just say Virginia? No. Whenever any government shall be found inadequate. So if you are not following what the people told you, you're getting paid by the people, you're getting money to do the people's business, and you decide that you're going to do things your own way, you have now just become inadequate and contrary to the purposes for which we created you. Watch this. Or contrary to these purposes, a majority of the community hath an indubitable, inalienable, and indefeasible right. See, They'll tell us, well, we don't want you to interfere with what we're doing, or we're going to ask attorneys or judges. No, 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 no. We have an indubitable, inalienable, and indefeasible right to reform, alter, and abolish it in such manner as shall be judged most conducive to the public will. The public good will make the determination on how we're going to deal with it. So, guys, we do have the power to alter, abolish, or reform government or the Constitution at will. And it is also our duty to regulate government. We see that the bar attorneys have stepped in and started interfering with what the people do. We desire to have audits. They decide to fight those who do audits and get rid of their bar license. Okay, well, if that's what you choose to do, then the bar does not need to be able to work in our courts, period. It's as simple as that. There's a conflict of interest. So these people are at all times amenable to us, and they are our trustees and servants. They work in our business, which we can change at will. And a majority of the community hath an indubitable, inalienable, and indefeasible right to reform, alter, and abolish. So the majority is going to be, when it comes to the number of people who decide to remove it, just more than the ones who don't decide to remove it. And we know that the people who decide to destroy things usually don't show up. So it's our time to stand up and fix this. Now we're going to show you how. Okay, guys, so now we're looking at Article 2 of Arizona Constitution, the Declaration of Rights, and we're going to see some power that the people have. Number one, if we want to get something fixed or deal with it, we have to address the government officials who have messed up. We have done that with notices and affidavits. We put the legislature on notice, let them know what we need them to do. We gave them affidavits, then we gave them more notices directing their behavior. We did that with Josh Barnett. Adele set up for there to be meetings down at the MTech Center where we were able to get those things done. We had Carrie Liberty on the site who actually took care of doing the notarizations, and tons of people got involved. So what did we do when we did that? Text of Section 1, Fundamental Principles, Recurrence 2. A frequent recurrence to fundamental principles is essential to the security of individual rights and the perpetuity of free government. See, the Board of Supervisors got to the point where they just thought, we're going to do what we want to do and you ain't going to tell us nothing. And the truth is that the people have all power, so we let it be known to the legislature what needed to be done to deal with the Board of Supervisors. And they got dealt with. Now, the thing is the Board of Supervisors believe that they can continue to do what they want to do and they're going to dictate policy. Well, that's not going to last long. Let's continue to look. Text of Section 2, Political Power, Purpose of Government. All political power is inherent in the people. The legislature they're borrowing power from us, but we have all political power. We give and we can take away. And governments derive their just power from the consent of the governed. So who are the governed? The Board of Supervisors are definitely the governed. They swear to be bound by the statute that deals with them. So they have decided that they are not going to follow what the people say and what the legislature has said. So it's the people's duty to fix it because they're acting in maladministration. It is not good administration when you don't follow your trust indenture, period. Right? And we don't need a court to tell us that. And are established to protect and maintain individual rights. So we see certain things that the people have the power to do. Let me give you some more information. Look at text of Section 3, Supreme Law of the Land, authority to exercise sovereign authority against federal action, use of government personnel, and financial resources. The Constitution of the United States is the supreme law of the land to which all government, not the people, government, state and federal, is subject. B, to protect the people's freedom. You always have to protect the people's freedom, but the government can put restrictions on the government officials when they're doing wrong or affecting the people. Let's see if that's true. And to preserve the checks and balances of the United States Constitution, this state, which includes the legislature, may exercise its sovereign authority to restrict the actions of its personnel and the use of its financial resources to purposes that are consistent with the Constitution by doing any of the following: passing initiative or referendum pursuant to Article 4, Part 1, Section 1, passing a bill pursuant to Article 4, Part 2, and Article 5, Section 7. Watch this. This is the one they don't want you to know about because there's so many other remedies. Pursuing any other available remedy. Any other. Now, it gets deeper. C, if the people or their representatives exercise their authority pursuant to this section, the state and all political subdivisions of this state are prohibited from using any personnel or financial resources to enforce, administer, or cooperate with the designated federal action or program. So if it's a federal program, they're not allowed to be part of it. So what we see here is just some of the powers people have and the legislature, but the legislature has the power and the people to use any available legal remedy in order to stop or prohibit anyone from working in a federal action program or enforcing one. Now, this is important because the Board of Supervisors is a political subdivision, and we see here that the legislature and the people have jurisdiction over it. So some people say, well, Dave, that doesn't matter because the people don't have a right to change government in the state constitution. Actually, that's not the case. First of all, if somebody is doing something that the people do not like, we have Section 5, the right of petition. The right of petition also means that you have the power to even get the government to respond to your petition, or they have a duty to respond. Watch this. And of the people to peaceably assemble for the common good shall never be abridged. So we can always bring our issues before the government and they have a duty to correct. But we also correct. Watch this. It's going to get deep. So if we look down, actually I could just scroll fast. Watch this. Now people will say, well, David, the Constitution says there could be a board of supervisors. So how could we not deal with a situation where the board of supervisors stay in power no matter what because they're government and government has all power? Very easy. So just because something in the Constitution, is it mandatory? Yes, to an extent. Watch this. Section 32. The provisions of this Constitution are mandatory. So how then do we deal with a group of people who are acting tyrannical, who don't want to do the right things anymore? We can remove their power. We can use our power over them, because whenever any government is acting, even in the danger of maladministration, the people have the right to remove them at will. Well, how would we do that? Watch this. It is the words in writing of the people that created this Constitution. It is also the words of the people in writing that can change the Constitution, remove powers, or declare that certain things in the Constitution will no longer be upheld. Is that true? Is that possible? Let's read. The provisions of this Constitution are mandatory unless by express words they are declared to be otherwise. What in the world does that mean? If we declare something in the Constitution, it is mandatory for them. But at the moment that we see something is wrong or is dangerous to our health, we can use express words like we did with Josh Barnett and I and tons of other people, in the form of affidavits and notices. When we see that there is wrong done and we dictate policy to our servants, it is their duty to act. And so we, the people, can remove the power of officials when it becomes dangerous to us, when it goes against our safety, our happiness, our welfare. We can use express words to declare that the Constitution will be changed. That is our power. When people say, well, David, I don't see that right clearly stated in the Constitution. Well, let's see. Text of Section 33, reservation of rights. The enumeration in this Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny other rights retained by the people. So we don't have to put every single right that we have inside of the Constitution. The state workers and the political subdivision workers already agreed to be bound if we decide that we have more rights that were not listed. Right here in text of Section 33. So, guys, we have the power to dictate what's going to happen in our business to the government, to the legislature. If we want to change things, let's already have it in mind that we're going to give notices and affidavits to the legislature that if something is done that we see is more maladministration, let's go ahead and let them know that we see that there is maladministration and that we are ordering them to suspend the powers of the Board of Supervisors until we can replace them or find out what their reasoning is for continuing to ignore the power of the people, which is granted to the legislature. Because we don't need a court now to tell us what they did is wrong. We don't need a court to tell us that they are acting in a way that is showing contempt for the people's power and the legislature. And therefore, it is the will of the people that is important, not the courts. We know that the Bar Association is working together with people who are trying to stop people from even knowing what's happening in their own business. And guess what? The courts don't own the ballots. The courts don't own the people. The courts don't own the state, and neither does the Board of Supervisors. So it is the people who have all political power. If we want, we can direct the legislature as the majority to do what is necessary. And I am sure that the people are tired of the wrong and the double-mindedness and the double standard that is being used in order to allow people to take our courts and abuse people and allow for government officials to not follow the law. And we can clearly see in the maxims of law, if you guys want me to do a video on it, that the government is not allowed to break the law. It is actually a shame when that happens.